All right, so buckle up, everyone, because today we are heading way, way down south.
To Antarctica.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
Antarctica. You guys sent us this YouTube documentary called The Darkest Conspiracies About Antarctica.
Oh, I've heard of this one.
And wow, it really dives into some interesting theories about what might be hidden down there under all that ice.
Well, Antarctica has always been a place of mystery.
It really has.
Even for scientists, it's remote, the conditions are extreme, and, we only started exploring it relatively recently, so it's ripe for these sorts of ideas.
Exactly. So we're going to put on our explorer hats, see if we can maybe separate the icebergs of fact from the snowdrifts of speculation.
I love that.
And, maybe unearth something truly incredible along the way.
We'll see. We'll see.
So the documentary really kicks off with this Operation High Jump thing, a 1947 U.S. Navy expedition led by Admiral Richard Byrd. On the surface, a research mission. But the documentary frames it as something a lot more covert.
Right from the get-go, they talk about the size of it.
Huge.
I mean, thousands of personnel, tons of ships, aircraft, that sort of thing. And then the documentary brings up the fact that the whole thing ended pretty abruptly.
Because of the Antarctic winter, right?
Well, that's the official reason.
Yeah.
But of course, the documentary suggests something a little bit more exciting.
Okay, so that's where this secret Nazi base theory comes in.
Right, yeah.
But, I mean, come on. Isn't it a little far-fetched to think about Nazis setting up shop in Antarctica, of all places?
Yeah. And the documentary doesn't really go into, the logistics of it all.
Yeah.
How would they even get the resources, the people down there during the war, let alone build a base? And the technology they'd need to pull that off. I mean, this was 1947. We were barely into the computer age.
Right.
Radar was like the hot new thing. So to imagine the Nazis having some kind of super weapon that could send the U.S. Navy running, it seems like a big stretch.
Maybe they were just like really good at snowball fights. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah.
But, this whole idea that the Nazis had an interest in Antarctica, they did actually send expeditions there in the 1930s.
That's true. They did send expeditions looking for whaling grounds, maybe a place for a base. But there's a huge difference between having some interest and, actually building a hidden fortress with advanced technology.
Especially in the middle of a global conflict.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this documented historical fact, Nazi interest. But then we pile on all this speculation, maybe a bit of post-war paranoia. It's kind of the classic recipe for a conspiracy theory, isn't it?
It seems like it. And, we should mention that Admiral Byrd himself, he never actually endorsed any of these theories.
That's a good point, yeah. All right, so let's move on from Operation High Jump, which, by the way, was officially called the United States Navy Antarctic Developments Program, before, the conspiracy theorists got hold of it. Let's talk about this mysterious cave entrance.
Oh, this one's really interesting. So this one was apparently spotted on Google Earth by an anonymous Earth watchman on an island off the coast of Antarctica.
Hold on, an Earth watchman? That sounds like a superhero or something.
It does. But anyway, they claim to have used Google Earth's measuring tools and said that this opening was over 150 feet wide. And then to make it even weirder, they claim it just vanished, like completely disappeared from Google Earth like 6 months later.
Wait, so it just disappeared, poof, like someone hit delete on the world's biggest map.
Well, satellite imagery can be tricky sometimes. There can be glitches, data processing errors, even temporary obstructions that affect what you see.
So maybe it wasn't a secret entrance to a hidden world after all?
Maybe. Maybe not. There could also be some perfectly normal explanations. I mean, think about Antarctica. The constant freezing and thawing, glaciers moving around, the erosion from wind and water. It's completely possible that what this person saw, what they thought was a cave entrance, was just like a temporary formation from all that.
So you're thinking like an ice cave? Or maybe some strange erosion pattern that just happened to look like this giant gaping maw.
Right, exactly. But the documentary, naturally, they lean into this idea that it was, deliberately removed.
Because, someone didn't want us to see it.
Exactly, yeah.
Like that classic thing you see in sci-fi movies, where the government goes in and scrubs all the evidence of aliens or whatever from the internet. But come on, realistically, wouldn't it be basically impossible to erase something from Google Earth? Especially if multiple people had already seen it.
You would think so. And these vanishing objects, they're kind of a recurring theme in the conspiracy world.
There's something really alluring about the idea that we're like just one Google Earth search away from uncovering some hidden truth.
Absolutely.
Okay, speaking of hidden truths, let's move on to this theory that Antarctica might have been home to an ancient civilization.
Okay, now this is where it gets really fascinating.
Right, so the documentary is saying that Antarctica wasn't always this frozen wasteland, that it might have had a warmer climate, like warm enough to support human life in the distant past.
And it's not just speculation. There's fossil evidence of forest, even palm trees in Antarctica, going back millions of years.
Palm trees. Palm trees in Antarctica, that's crazy. Really makes you wonder what else might be down there under all that ice. What kind of climate shifts would it even take to, make that happen? Palm trees in Antarctica.
Yeah. It really shows you how much our planet has changed over time. I mean, what we see today, it's just a snapshot, really.
Okay, so let's say Antarctica was warmer millions of years ago.
Yeah.
Does that mean there was a civilization there?
Well, the documentary makes that leap. They talk about these NASA topographical photos taken a few years ago in 2016 that some people believe show the ruins of an ancient city under the ice.
A whole city, wow.
Yeah. And they even quote this archaeologist, Ashoka Tripathi, who says that the photos show clear evidence of human engineering.
But, the scientific community, aren't they pretty skeptical about this?
Yeah, they are, because it's really hard to tell just from satellite photos, especially when you're talking about something as potentially eroded as an ancient city.
So, could these just be natural formations, like geological features that just happen to, kind of look like man-made structures from above?
Absolutely. Lots of natural processes can create, patterns that look like they were designed. But the documentary, as you can imagine, they focus on the most, how do I put it, the most sensational explanation.
Which brings us to the pyramids.
Yes, the pyramids.
These viral images that have been all over the internet, they do look remarkably like pyramids, I have to say.
They really do. And the documentary actually presents both sides,
Okay.
So you have some scientists who say that they're just natural mountains that got shaped by erosion.
Right.
And then you have the folks who say, no, the angles are too precise and they don't look like other eroded mountains.
Right.
So it's really, are we seeing evidence of an ancient civilization, or are we just hardwired to see patterns and meaning even when they're not really there? It's that human desire to see the extraordinary, even in the mundane.
We're all about connecting those dots.
We are.
Even if those dots are just random piles of snow.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like you said before, it's impossible to really prove or disprove these theories without actually going there. And getting boots on the ground in Antarctica isn't exactly easy.
It's not a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Which is probably why these mysteries are so fascinating. Okay, so are you ready for the wildest claim yet?
Oh, bring on the whistleblowers.
You got it. The documentary introduces us to Brian,
Okay.
supposedly a former U.S. Navy flight engineer,
Go.
who sent a letter to this UFO researcher, Linda Moulton Howe, back in 2015. And he details these alleged experiences he had in Antarctica.
And I'm guessing those experiences weren't just about, penguins and ice fishing.
No, not quite. Brian claims he saw flying saucers, a restricted area with a massive hole in the ice, and even encounters with, get this, Eebs.
Hold on. Eebs. So we've gone from secret Nazi bases to full-blown alien encounters.
It's a wild ride. It plays into that idea that, governments are hiding evidence of aliens, and Antarctica is the perfect spot to do that. Remote, isolated.
It's like the ultimate conspiracy theory breeding ground. All right, so let's break this down.
Okay.
Brian claims he saw these flying saucers, this big hole in the ice. What else?
Well, he mentions this group of scientists who supposedly disappeared, which, to be fair, in Antarctica, it's not completely outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah, accidents can happen.
Absolutely. But the documentary definitely plays up the, the sinister angle.
Okay, but what about these Eebs? What are they supposed to be like? And is there any evidence?
Well, that's the thing. Brian doesn't actually provide any proof. No photos, no videos, no nothing. It's all just his word, in this letter. And the documentary doesn't really give us anything to back up his story or even his identity.
Even the term Edie feels, I don't know, it feels a little dated, like something out of a 50s B movie. Makes me wonder if maybe he's drawing on these pop culture tropes to tell his story.
It's possible. When we come back next time, we should talk more about these whistleblower accounts and how hard it is to tell what's real and what's not.
All right, so we're back and still thinking about those Antarctic mysteries.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Brian, this supposed Navy flight engineer, and his stories about flying saucers and alien encounters, these Eebs, as he called them. How do we even approach those sorts of whistleblower accounts, especially when they sound like something out of, science fiction.
It can be really difficult. Whistleblower accounts, they can be incredibly powerful, especially, when they're exposing real wrongdoing.
Right.
But they're also often very hard to verify, especially when you're dealing with things like the paranormal, or conspiracy theories.
Yeah, because on the one hand, you want to believe people who say they have this insider knowledge, right?
Yeah.
They're risking it all to speak truth to power. But then on the other hand, it's like you have to think about their motives and the chance that they might be, I don't know, embellishing things or even making it all up.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of factors to think about. Like, first you have to look at the source. Is this whistleblower credible? Do they have a proven track record? What's their background? And in Brian's case, all we really have is his word and that letter he sent to the UFO researcher.
Right, and the documentary, it doesn't really back up his identity at all.
Exactly.
And that's, I don't know, that's kind of a red flag for me.
Yeah.
It's like, why all the secrecy, if he's really trying to expose this big cover-up, why not just come out and say it? Why go through this anonymous letter route?
That's a really good question. And it brings up another point, the motivation.
Right.
Why is the whistleblower coming forward now? What are they hoping to get out of it? Are they just concerned for the public, or could there be, other things going on?
Like what?
Well, maybe they want fame.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to get a book deal or, a movie deal.
Right.
It happens. And then there's the content of the claims, right? Do they even make sense? Do they fit with what we know to be true? Or are they based on, assumptions and leaps of logic?
Okay, so in Brian's case, he's saying he saw flying saucers. This giant hole in the ice.
Right.
These EBs. I mean, those are pretty extraordinary claims.
Yeah.
And if we're going with the whole extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence thing, it seems like the documentary really doesn't deliver.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, it's all these wild stories, but there's no real evidence to back it up.
Exactly. Like, where are the photographs, the videos, anything tangible that could support his story? Personal stories can be powerful, but they don't really stand up to scrutiny, especially when you're talking about something as big as alien contact.
But, even though I'm trying to be skeptical, I have to admit there's a part of me that wants to believe.
Oh, I get it.
Like this idea of a secret base in Antarctica with humans and aliens working together.
Yeah.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
It really is. It taps into that, fascination we all have with the unknown, the sense of wonder, the possibility.
It's like maybe Brian's story isn't, totally true, but what if there's a grain of truth in there? What if he's just remembering things wrong or exaggerating a little? But the basic idea is actually like based on something real.
It's so easy to get caught up in the what ifs.
It is.
But we have to remember that without any real evidence, we're just speculating.
Yeah.
It's like trying to build a house, on a foundation of sand.
Okay, so how do we navigate this world of crazy claims and limited evidence? How do we stay curious but not, fall for all the misinformation out there?
It really comes down to critical thinking.
Yeah.
We have to be, careful with the information we consume, especially nowadays with, social media and all that. It's easy to get swept up in these sensational stories, but you have to pause, take a step back and ask some questions. Like, what's the source? Can we trust them? What's the evidence? And maybe most importantly, why am I so drawn to this? Is there something about me, my own biases that are making me believe this?
Yeah, those are good questions. It's like you have to put on your skepticism glasses before you dive into this stuff.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot between being open-minded and being, healthily skeptical. We can be open to the possibility that there's stuff we don't know out there, but we also need to keep our critical thinking skills sharp.
Okay, so after all these conspiracy theories and Brian's account, I mean, where does this leave us? What can we actually say for sure about Antarctica?
Well, I think it's safe to say that it's still this vast and mysterious place with a really rich history.
Yeah.
Both, geologically and potentially human. It holds clues to our planet's past and maybe even our future.
And definitely sparks our imaginations.
Absolutely. It's a place that makes us question everything, It pushes the boundaries of what we think we understand.
It's a place that begs us to explore, question, to never stop learning.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so we've gone through some pretty wild theories about Antarctica.
We have.
Secret Nazi bases, hidden pyramids, alien encounters, you name it. But I think even more than the specifics, what I find fascinating is just how Antarctica itself has become this blank canvas for our imagination.
I think that's right. Even with all we've learned about it scientifically, there's still so much that's unknown. And the emptiness, that lack of clear knowledge, it creates a space for us to project our hopes and fears, even our desires for something more, something beyond the everyday world.
It's like Antarctica is this giant Rorschach test for humanity. We look at it and we see what we want to see, or maybe what we're most afraid of seeing.
I like that, the Rorschach test. And it's not just about aliens and ancient civilizations, right? Think about all the anxiety around climate change, the melting ice, the rising sea levels. Antarctica is like a very real symbol of that. So it makes sense that it becomes this focus for our anxieties.
It's like those images you see of glaciers breaking off and falling into the sea. They're beautiful, but they're also terrifying, right?
Yeah.
And maybe these conspiracy theories, they come from that same place. People trying to make sense of things that feel really out of control, looking for someone to blame.
It's about control, yeah. When the world feels chaotic, these theories offer a sense of, having secret knowledge, seeing these patterns that other people miss. And that can be kind of comforting, even if the knowledge itself is scary.
But we have to remember to look at these theories critically.
Right.
Question our own biases. Look for real evidence. It's really easy to get caught up in the story, but we can't just, turn off our brains.
And I'd even say that, being skeptical, it can actually make the sense of wonder even stronger.
Really?
Yeah, because when you do find something truly amazing, something that holds up under scrutiny, that feeling of discovery is even more powerful.
I see what you mean. So after all this deep dive into these Antarctic mysteries, where do you land? I mean, do you think we're mostly dealing with people misinterpreting natural things? Or is there something truly extraordinary hidden under all that ice?
I think that's what makes Antarctica so compelling. We can't really rule anything out.
Yeah.
Yeah, some theories are more plausible than others, for sure. But the possibility that we could find new life forms or evidence of past civilizations or even encounter something we haven't even imagined yet, I mean, that's what keeps us exploring, keeps us asking questions.
It's like that line from the X-Files, right? The truth is out there.
That's it.
Maybe not in the way we expect, but that potential for discovery, that's what keeps us looking.
Exactly. And, I think the most important thing to remember is that the biggest discoveries, they might not be what we're expecting. It might not be some ancient artifact or, alien technology.
So you're saying the real discovery is the journey itself, the exploration, the scientific process.
I think so, yeah. The real wonders of Antarctica, they might be in the natural world itself, understanding how life exists in those conditions, uncovering the history of our planet that's trapped in the ice.
I really like that perspective. It's not about finding all the answers. It's about being okay with the unknown.
Yeah.
And being open to all the possibilities.
Absolutely. And who knows what the future holds, right? As the ice melts, there are going to be new secrets revealed. What we find, it could change everything. Our understanding of biology, of history, even of what it means to be human.
Well, to our listener out there who sent us down this rabbit hole of Antarctic mysteries, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your eyes on the icy south. The truth might be stranger than fiction, but the real adventure is in searching for it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Antarctica, and until next time, keep that sense of wonder alive.